Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hi, Reverend Laughlin here. We're on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm a writer, author of several books, publisher, speaker, and TV host. I research the human body at the cellular level. Chemically speaking, I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem, treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms, but the cause could be getting worse. So that's what I write about. That's what I speak about. I have 3 shows I do every Thursday. This is the first, the Corner Bookstore. I have another one with the wise ones, usually with entrepreneurs. And then I have my own series called Talking Heads. And today I'm embarking upon the first, probably it's going to be several programs on the hallmarks of health at the cellular level, not something that we typically look at. That being said, I want to go now to our guest today, Mark Darden. He is an author, children's book. He's a publisher involved with AI. He is a fitness enthusiast, a content creator, a traveler, just a lot of things. So Mark, please join me up here on stage.
Hey, how's it going?
Howdy. How's everything in Ohio?
Pretty hot right now, but it's all good.
Yeah, I understand things are supposed to get a little warmer here in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to get started. You are in a multitude of things, but this is the Corner Bookstore, so we're going to start out talking about Elijah Goes to Philadelphia. Tell me how you got the idea for that one.
So I got the idea for it after my first Elijah book. So my first one was Elijah Goes to Cleveland, and it was a scavenger hunt style book. And I decided for the second one, I wanted to try something with a little bit of time travel. And I looked at Philadelphia as a good city to do that because of the historical nature for America with like Independence Hall and a lot of the historical landmarks that's there in the city.
Is that one of the cities you traveled to a few times in advance just to kind of get a feel for it?
Yeah, so I've been there plenty of times in the past, so I figured that I can actually write a book about the city. I know where a lot of the landmarks are, so that's why I picked Philadelphia.
Okay. How many books do you have?
Currently 3. So I have It's Game Time, Folks, Quest for 30. That was my baseball travel book from 2019. Then I have the first Elijah book, which was Elijah Goes to Cleveland. I released that in 2021. And then I got Elijah Goes to Philadelphia now. That's got released earlier this year.
Well, it sounds like to me you're right on the path for another 150 books because there are a lot of places to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I try to do one book at a time, try to release one a year, because the process to writing a book and getting it from ideal in my head to a finished product takes a while.
Well, tell me about the writing process for you.
So for me, when it comes to writing the Elijah books, usually I'll either go to a city or if I've been there, I look at the different landmarks there are and I look at them on a map and I try to spread them out on the map so they're all not bundled up in like one particular area. Then once I decided on which places that are going to be highlighted in the story, then I try to find a plot device for the story. That way, it's not just Elijah simply going from place A, B, C, D, E. I wanted to have a actual reason for him being there. Then I write the book in third person and say like Elijah goes to this place with this person or Elijah says this line. Then after I have it in third person, the way I want it, then I go back one more time and start writing dialogue for the story and put stuff in quotations and make it even better.
Okay, so as you're writing the book, you do it in third person. I think that's a great idea. I think you're the first person that I can remember talking to on this particular show that specifically said, I write it first this way, then I go back and create the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a book 10 years ago on the last mission I had on a Russian submarine when I was in the Navy, when my wife was going through chemo, and I never put the dialogue in. I have the whole thing done, and it's just, I'll get back to it. So I appreciate saying that today, because you've kind of stirred up in my brain. I need to go back and do that. I just haven't done it. But okay.
Yeah, usually with the third person, that's more to get the action done, down. Then I'll go back and add some like actual dialogue where I'll say like this character said this or this character said that.
Okay. Tell me about your editing process.
So with the editing process, I do have an editor, Brooke. She's been amazing for me. I'll send her what I wrote or what I got on my Word document, and then she'll send me back feedback and say like, okay, this doesn't make sense, or you could probably improve this. And then I just take her advice and just apply it to the manuscript, and then I send it off to her again, and then we finalize it. So usually it goes through 1 or 2 rounds of editing before it's completely finished.
Okay, so you are looking at character development, plot development, location development, time development, a lot of different things that need to meld in, and she does a pretty good job of helping you with that.
Yeah, and you got to keep it all within 26, 27 pages as well. So you're trying to have a story with a beginning, middle, and end, have action, have sequences, and then you got to keep it within the confines of a children's book, which are usually about 32 pages. But if you take out the front matter and the back matter, it's really down to about 26 to 28 pages.
Okay, so you have the book, it's there. How do you get to illustrations to match your story?
So during the editing process, either myself or Brooke will come up with like notes for the editor or the illustrator, and we'll put them underneath each page or whatever the dialogue is. And then I'll sit down and have like a storyboard piece of paper, and then I'll jot my ideas down on how I want the characters to look. Then I'll send that off as well as the notes to my illustrator, and then I just let her do her magic.
Your illustrator is nearby or in the States?
Yeah, she's in Los Angeles.
Now, a lot of the people that I use as a publisher and book coach, I help other people. And a lot of the ones that they use Fiverr, and that could be in Pakistan or who knows where. And so sometimes you end up with, it's almost like a 72-hour realm to get, okay, we find it's wrong, we need to change it. By the time you get there, they're in a different time zone, 12 hours away. By the time they wake up and get things done, it's back to you, you're in a different time zone. So it's really neat to have a US, because you're a couple, 3 hours difference at any point in time. So that's neat.
Yeah, like with her, she is pretty amazing at what she does. And she had experience working with big studios like Nickelodeon. So she's amazing at what she does.
Does she also do your covers?
Yes. Yeah, so all of the illustrations, that's all Ein. She does everything.
Do you have more than one cover you send out in advance asking your public which one they like, or is it you just take what she gives you?
Yeah, so you brought up my Instagram page earlier. So the one picture that was on the far right, that was the original cover. But then I looked at it and said, hey, I can't have the characters with their backs turned to the person looking at the book. So I asked her to turn the characters around and keep the background the same.
Okay. Pretty good, pretty interesting catch. That's something we haven't talked about before when you start having the characters. But the marketing of your book, did you start that when you started writing, or did that happen along the way after the thing was done?
More so along the way. I really try to ramp up the marketing now since the book is out, and putting it out there on different podcasts and different other channels to let the world know that it exists. But over time, I've started to learn like the marketing starts even before the book is completely done. Like you have to start thinking about who I'm going to talk to, or what podcast I want to go on to talk about the book.
Well, let's go down that road for a minute or two. Where do you see most of your success in social marketing with your books?
Usually with social marketing, usually it comes to videos. Like lately, I've been trying to do more videos to increase awareness about the book, and I get a lot of hits. And there's people that would click on like the Amazon page or click on myself to figure out who I am, and I've been getting pretty good success with that. Most of the other success I've had is just through word of mouth, just talking to teachers or other independent publishers that I have as friends or who I know, and we just help each other out and show the world our books.
Do you do any signings anywhere?
Yeah, so I do signings at book fairs as well as other smaller shows where I can just get my book out there in front of the people.
The marketing into things, I noticed you have a publicist, Mickey.
Mhm.
When did you decide to go with the publicist and why?
So I was with one of my other marketing people that I know, and she always said, you got to increase your web. And I know for myself, I'm kind of an introverted person. So for me, doing like the marketing part of the book is probably my biggest challenge. So I know it'd be better to get like somebody else that's knowledgeable on marketing to help me out and helping me put my book out there in the world. So I made the decision to get Mickey about a few months ago.
Okay, I should have asked it earlier. I didn't. How old is Elijah? Just so I get an idea of what his
About
competency is.
8 years old,
Okay, right in
eight,
that
9 years old.
right in that sweet spot for learning.
Yep.
Do you have
Yeah,
any
one
kids?
thing I learned with the character is like the character should be slightly older than the intended audience. So my intended audience is 4 to 8. So Elijah himself is like 8 to 9 years old because kids, from what I learned, kids look up to older kids.
Do you have any kids?
I do not.
Okay. Um, the process of getting the book published. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Mhm.
It says you're a publisher and you like AI and you've kind of combined the deals and kind of not necessarily mastered it, but certainly ahead of the field. So tell us how you publish and how AI helps you.
So when it comes to publishing, once I have all of the illustrations and all of the writing done, then I look for either a printer or some place that prints the books on an offset method. That way you can get a huge stack of books for a really good price. In the past, I used to go to this one place that was based in Michigan, but then I worked with another company this time around, and I get the books printed in China, and they do pretty amazing work. They keep me updated throughout the process, and then they ship them back over here to the States about 2 to 3 months after they're printed.
Okay, so the time delay is not an issue when you take a look at the cost savings.
Yeah. So as long, yeah, when it comes to publishing the book, you just got to understand that you're going to be investing a lot of time, whether it's writing the book, getting illustrations done, getting the books printed. It takes a while for it to get from the initial idea to a finished product, especially if you're doing hardcover books. Now, if you want to do a softcover book, you could probably get that done within a week once you got the illustrations and all of the manuscript done. Like I got a softcover version of the book, and I used a local printer here in Columbus to get those done, and they had them done in a week.
What do you think is the difference between the hardcover and the softcover?
So with the hardcover, that one has a map on the inside of the cover on the end sheets. The softcover doesn't have it. And also when it came to the illustrations, I had to ask Ein to make sure the softcover version was slightly smaller than the hardcover version of the cover. So that's one little difference as well. You have to make different size covers for hardcover compared to softcover.
Okay, on the book itself, what size is the book?
So the book size for the hardcover is 8.5 by 10 inches.
Okay, and the paper and the softcover?
It's about the similar size, 8.5 by 10 inches.
It's just that the cover art has to be a little bit bigger for the hardback.
Yeah, so like the cover itself, it makes the book, like with the hardcover version, it makes the book slightly bigger, I'll say about 8.7 to about 10.4, so slightly bigger. And you have to account for that when you do the illustrations.
Have you had any problems that you can pass on to a new children's book author with regard to some of the things that you've learned with regard to writing? Let's talk about writing first, and we'll talk about publishing second.
So when it comes to writing, this is going to sound pretty obvious, but read your writing. Read what you wrote, because there's so many things that's going around you trying to figure out illustrations or trying to make sure this looks great in this place that sometimes you could just overlook what you actually wrote and not proofread anything. And you end up having embarrassing typos and mistakes once the book is printed. Like I had that issue with the Elijah Goes to Cleveland book. When I first got the initial spreads, I was more concerned with how they looked and didn't stop to think, hey, I need to actually read the story and make sure there's no typos or missing punctuation. And when I actually got a batch of the hardcover books, my mom was the one that caught some of the mistakes. I was just like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good when your mama catches it.
Mm-hmm.
Say, did you use AI at all in regard to writing the book, or was it just in the publishing end?
No, for writing the book, no AI was involved. Usually I use the AI for more of the administrative stuff that I have to do, like sending emails, maybe coming up with a flyer or something administrative that I really don't like to do, but I know I got to do. But usually I typically use the AI for emails.
Okay. And publishing lessons learned. Tell us about that.
So with publishing lessons, I learned like you have to make sure when you create a spread or a page for an illustrated book, it has to be slightly bigger than what your intended size is. So like my book, for example, is 8.5 by 10 inches, but with the actual spreads, they have to be slightly bigger than what the page size is. So you got to add about 1/8 of an inch all around to account for the cutting process, because you don't want to have something cut off from the book that's important.
Are your illustrations bled right out to the edge of the page, or they have white around them?
They bleed out to the edge of the page. So every time I talk to Ayn about what I want the illustration to look like, I always advise her to make sure there's enough room or make sure nothing's important on the edges. That way, when the book gets cut, nothing important gets cut off, like maybe like somebody's leg or a head or something like that. Or like even in the middle of the book, nothing important is like right in the middle.
Between the two books, Elijah Goes to Cleveland and Elijah Goes to Philadelphia, how long did it take you to write each book?
About 1.5 months each to write each book. The biggest process or the biggest difference between the Cleveland book and the Philadelphia book was finding an illustrator. So with the Cleveland book, it took me about 2 months to find an illustrator. And once I found Ayn, she was easy to work with. So we worked together again on the Philadelphia book. So it made things a little easier on that front. And as for an editor, the first time around, I went with an editor in a children's group or a children's group I'm a part of. And then this time around, I found another editor just to have a different person look at it.
Have you considered using AI to do the final proofread for, say, a 6-year-old? Because
No.
that to me is one that I find to be very. I write very technically, and so when I'm doing one of my final processes, I'll have it proofread because it doesn't change anything; it just tells me where things are at. And
yeah, I haven't considered doing that.
Yeah, but I'll say I want it for 7th grade level. And that way it takes a lot of the stuff I have and kind of massages it into more easily understood language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't considered using AI for proofreading purposes. I'd rather have an actual person look at it.
Yeah, well, I do that too, but and it's just interesting if you say AI edit this. The first time I did that, I took about 20 pages in a chapter, and it edited it down to 2 paragraphs. And that's not what I wanted. And so I now have almost a small paragraph, 5 or 6 lines, that I say, okay, this is what I want done. And it does a pretty good job of editing, but you have to tell it exactly what you want, because even
Hmm.
though you think it speaks the same language, it doesn't. Mark, we're coming up on a commercial break here very shortly. Uh, I'd like to get back into anything else we want to talk about your writing experiences, and then I'd like to get into the real Mark Darden and fitness enthusiast and everything else. So let's go to the commercial break, and we will be back very shortly.
From the magical world of the amazing adventures of Lady Ella comes a heartwarming new journey filled with kindness, courage, and compassion. Lady Ella, the beloved ladybug and listening mentor, is back, and this time she is not alone. Meet her brave and thoughtful brother, Lord Jack. Together, they take flight on their very first kindness adventure. Along the way, they meet 3 new friends in need: a duck feeling discouraged, a mouse struggling to be understood, and a busy little bee who's completely lost. But with the power of elevated listening and simple acts of kindness, Lady Ella and Lord Jack show us how understanding and empathy can make the biggest difference in someone's day. Written by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, this 9th book in the best-selling Lady Ella series teaches children ages 5 to 10 the essential skills of listening, kindness, and etiquette. Now available for pre-order on Amazon. Scan the QR code and order your copy today.
Errol Laughlin here on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. My guest today is author Mark Darden. Mark, please join me back up here on stage. Before we get into the rest of Mark Darden, do you have any plans for audiobooks or books in foreign languages?
Yeah, I do have plans for making the book in an audiobook format. So I was just at a conference this past weekend, and one of the vendors, they make audiobooks for visually impaired children. So I was thinking about going that route to have another version of the book out to reach a new audience.
Okay, no foreign languages at this time?
Not at the moment.
I publish format, and I help Dr. Jacqueline with her books here on USA Global TV and Radio Network. And one of the things we did right off the bat on the first one was come up with a dyslexic fonts, because a lot of times we don't know the kids may have a problem with dyslexia. And there's fonts out there that are really honed in on the ability to help somebody with dyslexia to read more easily. Just pass that on for what it might be worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm open to all advice. Another thing I learned over this journey is to have an open mind to everything.
Okay, I notice you have on your website various things. You're a marathoner. You've been to WWE, football games. Let's talk about the real Mark Darden here for a minute. Fitness enthusiast. How did that happen? You played football or something like that way back when?
Yeah, so back in high school, I was actually a cross country and track runner. And back then, that's all I did was run. And then after I graduated high school, I started to lift weights. And there was a rec center right by my dorm at Ohio State. So I was in there almost every other day, just working out and gaining the freshman 15 and just eating a lot of food. And then over the years, I'll look at different fitness challenges and to try to at least do them once to see if I can do it. And once I accomplish the goal, then I try to move on to the next thing. So you mentioned the marathon. I did that back in 2016, and probably the hardest fitness event I've ever done in my life, but pretty life-changing for me.
How'd you prepare for it?
Lots of running. So that marathon was in May. I started training for it back in January, and here in Ohio, the weather can be hit and miss. So in January, it'll be super cold some nights, and then it could be 80 degrees the next night. That's just Ohio weather, but it took me about 5 months to get ready for the race.
Let me brag real quickly here. My son was a cross-country runner in high school. He went to college. I think they put him up to about 130 miles a week, and he really got burned out. But his best time on the cross-country was 10 miles in under an hour. And I've been real happy with telling people my son did this. So anyway, I know you can appreciate what kind of time that is for cross country.
Yeah, like for me, back in high school, my fastest time was 17:56 for a 5K, and I was really proud of it. Sometimes I wish I had one more year of high school where I can see what I can really do and potentially get down to the state level. So I think I was pretty decent at cross country, but not. If I just had one more year, I probably would have been a state qualifier.
Oh, wow. The thing is with runners, most people don't realize if you do indoor track, outdoor track, then you have the cross country, you have all sorts, you know, one season goes to the next, and you almost never have a break from running, which is good and bad. But sometimes you do need a little break.
Yeah, yeah. So in high school, I had that break. Like after cross country was done, I didn't do anything for like 3 or 4 months, and then track started in about February.
So you didn't have an indoor track, or that was your indoor track?
Well, we had like with us, we had indoor track, but we had to go to another school to do it.
Understand. Logistics.
Yeah, it was more of a logistical issue. So anytime we did do indoor stuff, we had to go to another school to do it, or we just ran in the hallways after school.
Okay, the local team there in football team there in Ohio that you advertise periodically on some of your photos. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so for me, my favorite NFL team is the Cleveland Browns because I grew up in Cleveland, and my favorite college football team is the Ohio State Buckeyes. So those are my two big teams that I love to follow. I'm also a fan of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Cleveland Guardians baseball team.
Okay, so it's Cleveland, Cleveland, Cleveland. Okay, I understand. Why.
Yeah, I grew up in Cleveland, so it makes it pretty easy to cheer for some of the teams. And at the time, some of those teams were pretty good. Like the Guardians, they were the Indians back in the 90s. They were pretty good in the late 90s when I started watching them. They would get to the playoffs and sometimes to the World Series.
I noticed you had some photos at the WWE. Apparently, that was a major event in the fact that you listed all of your expenses in getting to it and why you were there and what you did. I thought that was pretty fascinating. Tell us about that.
So that idea came up, I want to say a few years ago. Somebody asked me like how much money did I spend on going on one of my trips, and I just told them, hey, I spent this much money on tickets and this much money on like travel expenses. And then I thought, hey, wait a minute, there may be somebody else that's in a similar position. They want to go to a show, but they don't really have a gauge on how much money it will cost. So that's where I came up with the idea to like write my expenses down, and a lot of people seem to love it.
Well, I was amazed because you were very, very thorough in how much you spent each day, where you spend it at, not necessarily from a time perspective, but from a money perspective, it was very well covered. I thought that was neat.
Thank you.
Do you have any favorite wrestlers?
Right now, I'm a big fan of Roman Reigns, The Miz, Bianca Belair. Yeah, for me now, I'm like a huge fan of just the entire show. So everybody that goes out there, I'm pretty stoked to see them perform and entertain the crowd wherever they are in the States or anywhere around the world.
Have you been to a lot of live matches?
Yeah, so this year alone, I've been to 6 or 7 events. So I've been to the Royal Rumble, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, WrestleMania this year. Even later this year, I do plan on going to 2 or 3 more events before the year is over.
When my kids, who right now have grandkids, who have kids of their own, when they were young teenagers, I took them here in Houston to a local wrestling event. And Andre the Giant was there, and a lot of others of that genre way back when. So it was kind of neat to see him. And we were pretty close to the ring, so they walked by, and you could really see the difference in size. I was truly amazed at not only their size but their dexterity.
Yeah. The last show I went to was in Dayton, Ohio, about an hour from here in Columbus, and I got a chance to sit in front row, and it was pretty cool seeing the wrestlers perform and do their moves and seeing like how larger than life some of the wrestlers are.
I've seen a few of them in airports. I haven't gone up and talked to them, but I recognize them because they're traveling. I didn't feel like it was me to go bother somebody, but I noticed that when I I was a big fan for a couple decades, maybe more way back when. I kind of since COVID, I kind of got out of that watching that market. But I know that when you listen, and I see them on Instagram and some other ones, they talk about if you're there and you're one of the opponents, slow down, and then when you think you're slow enough, slow down some more. And when I go back and I look at some of them, they walk very slowly. They'll sit there and they'll play to the audience, and it's part of the entertainment value, and it's also part of the timing for the entire event. You don't want the whole event with 50,000 people over in 32 minutes because they didn't get their money's worth of their time. And I've noticed how over time they change. It used to be 2 falls in an hour or 61 minutes or whatever. And so nowadays it's totally different. And I find the changes, I started watching them back probably in the 60s, all the way up till about 2000, I'm guessing. And then it kind of started fading after that. But it's entertainment. It's not really wrestling per se. And if you go back into history, back into the early 1900s, there's a shut off between boxing and wrestling, where boxing stayed primarily in the not the entertainment, but in the professional athletic, the sport, the athletics. And the wrestling decided to go a different way, and you'd have one guy being the good guy in this city, and then 3 days later he'd be in another city, he'd be the good guy. And so and you didn't know because there wasn't that much marketing and of that information.
Yeah, you didn't have social media back then where like, okay, this guy's the good guy, and you couldn't really change it up like that. You can't do that nowadays.
Yeah. So it's an interesting area. Tell us about some of the other personal challenges. I think you had one that you had to climb some stairs or something. I'm guessing that's what that was.
Yeah. So a few years back, I did a stair climb at the CN Tower, and it was one of those fitness challenges I thought was cool. And I said, like, hey, I could probably do that. And the first year I did it, I did 2 back-to-back. So I did the CN Tower on a Saturday. Then I flew to Chicago and climbed the stairs of the Willis Tower on a Sunday. So it was cool to say that I've climbed up the stairs of 2 of the tallest buildings in the world.
How'd you prepare for that?
Pretty much with those 2, really just running around and kind of similar to running, like getting ready for a 5K or a 10K. Unfortunately, I wasn't around a lot of steps to really train for it, but at least I kept my cardio in a decent condition. So when I actually did the stair climbs, I wasn't totally out of breath or gassed out at the end of it.
Is there one of these challenge events that you want to do next?
There's one that I want to do. It's the Berlin Inline Marathon. I want to say they have the roller skate marathon and inline skating marathon in Berlin, Germany. And I've been watching YouTube videos about that for the last few years. And I've always wanted to do that event. It'll be cool to like skate around Berlin and see the city from that perspective.
You also list one of your specialties as traveler. Tell us about your travel experiences.
So I travel planes, trains, cars, boats, anything that moves. There's probably a good chance I've been a part of it. So initially, when I started like traveling more often, I tried to do it on like travel on a budget. So I would catch like the Greyhound bus to a city, or maybe rent out a car and drive. Then over time, I started to take more flights and be able to go to places a little further away from where I'm located right now.
What places have you really enjoyed going to and you'd go back?
I really enjoy going over to London. That was one of my favorite cities. I also enjoy going to Toronto. I try to go there once a year to meet up with some friends and potentially go to a hockey game with them. I also like going down. Sometimes I like going to Los Angeles as well, because being on the West Coast and being along the Pacific Ocean, it's just, for me, that smell and scent of being by the ocean is always something that sticks with me.
Been anywhere tropical?
Tropical, not yet. So I haven't been to the Caribbean yet. The closest I've been to like tropics is Miami, and that was only for about a day. So I wasn't really on the beach or anything like that.
You talked about boats a minute ago. Have you been on cruises?
Not full-fledged cruises, but I've been on boats before to see like different places. So I've been on the Maid of the Mist in Niagara Falls, and just looking up and seeing the waterfalls come over and seeing how powerful they are is always awe-inspiring. But my friends in Canada is always trying to convince me to go on a cruise with them because they take 1 or 2 cruises a year. So I got to talk to them and see when the next time they're going on a cruise.
My wife and I went on our first cruise a couple of months ago. We've been many places in the world, but never on a cruise. So that was something that was new to me, and we're probably going to go on another one here just after the first of the year. So anyway, it was an interesting experience. We're getting toward the end of the show. Is there something that you wanted to talk to my audience about that we haven't covered today?
When it comes to traveling, I always feel like travel kind of breaks down a couple of barriers. So there's people I grew up with or friends I know, they haven't even traveled outside of the state of Ohio. And I always feel that travel kind of opens your mind and opens your perspective to people. And the older I get, the more I realize that we all may have differences, but we're all pretty similar at the same time. We all just want to do the best. What we want to do is best for our families or our friends, and really just have more of an understanding of one another.
Okay. How do people buy your books? How do they get in touch with you?
So to purchase the books right now, they're available on Amazon as the hardcover as well as a KDP download. Also, you can purchase the book at bookandauthor.com. If you want to speak to me or bring me in as author visit, you could go to bookandauthor.com. Also, to follow me on all social media, you can follow me on Instagram, X, Twitter, TikTok at Buckeye Muscle.
Mark Darden, I found you on Buckeye Muscle. Tell me about Buckeye Muscle. How did that happen?
So that came from a college class. So the only reason I have a Twitter X account is because of this college course. So it was a communications class, and we had to do like 4 different projects throughout the year or throughout the quarter. And one of them was to get a Twitter account. And I got the Twitter account. And the way I came up with the name Buckeye Muscle was I'm an Ohio State Buckeye. I live here in the state of Ohio. And at the time, I was more into bodybuilding. So Buckeye Muscle, and it just stuck ever since.
Okay. I really appreciate your time today, Mark. I look forward to the next time we get together. And I'm going to say goodbye to you now, and I'm going to let the world know what's going on next.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Rebel Laughlin, we just had Mark Darden here on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Our next show in about, let me take a look at about a minute or so. No, this show is going to be over in a minute. The next show is in about 20 minutes, and it's called The Wise Ones. And usually I have a chance to have an entrepreneur talk about lessons learned, wisdom acquired over time. And my guest today is Melissa Pickett. I met her a couple of weeks ago here in the Houston area, and she is a registered nurse that became a legal nurse consultant. Some practice that I've never heard about before, but what she does I think will be very interesting. So we're going to have Melissa Pickett next. Then on the top of the hour, 1 o'clock here in Houston Central Time, my show Talking Heads. We're talking about this week and probably the next couple of weeks, the hallmarks of health. I talked about the hallmarks of aging and age-related things over the last 3 weeks. But the hallmarks of health are looking at it literally at the cellular level and the communication levels within the body and what affects them, what helps support them, what degrades them. And so that's my primary topic today on health. And I can see right now it's probably going to be at least 2, maybe 3 weeks. I'm hoping not, but it is. So you all have a great time, and I'll catch you next week. Bye now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents The Corner Bookstore, hosted by Red O'Loughlin. Step into a world where every story inspires. These pages come to life through the voices of authors from around the globe. Written by our global community of TV show hosts and best-selling authors, these works span genres, generations, and geographies, united by the power of storytelling. Discover your next favorite book and meet the minds behind the work. Thursdays, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.